After my review for the Galaxy A24, the most frequent question I got was to compare it together with the Galaxy A14. And luckily for you guys, I had both devices in the house. First off, I'd like to put this across. In my review for the Galaxy A24, I made some very dramatic errors. And it includes one, the fact that the Galaxy A24 was IP67 rated. It wasn't actually. And I also made mention that I had stereo speakers, which it didn't have. So please forgive me for that error. And I hope to avoid that in my next and subsequent reviews. We'll start off with the pricing for both devices. The Samsung Galaxy A24 costs around $240 to $250, depending on where you find yourself. Some regions have it on discount sales for around $200. In Ghana, this is supposed to be around 2,799 Ghana cedis. And that is for the baseline storage, which is 4 gigs of RAM and 128 gigabytes of internal storage. If you go for a higher RAM variant like the one that comes with 6 gigs of RAM and 128 gigabytes, you're going to spend well over 3,000 Ghana cedis on this device. The Galaxy A14 on the other hand comes with a price point of 2,100 Ghana cedis for 4 gigabytes, 64 gigabytes of internal storage, and can get higher if you go for 4 gigabytes, 128 gigabytes of internal storage. This pricing should be somewhere around $170 to $180 depending on where you find yourself. In some countries, you might even get it for $150. So of course, these are the prices for both devices. Now let's look at how different or how similar they are. The Samsung Galaxy A24 has one storage variant and it's just 128 gigabytes, but you can have other RAM variants like 4, 6, and in some region 8 gigabytes, all coupled with 128 gigabytes. The Samsung Galaxy A14 on the other hand has two storage variants, which include 64 and 128 gigabytes. Both of them coming with 4 and 6 gigabytes of RAM. In terms of build and design, immediately you pick these two devices, you do realize that the rear facing side looks slightly similar, especially if you compare the camera design of both devices. But of course, the finish at the rear side of the Galaxy A14 is completely different, as it has this textured feel that makes it very comfortable in the hand as compared to the glossy feel at the rear side of the device on the Galaxy A24. On the A24, it makes it look more classy and much premium than the Galaxy A14. Of course, the all-round finish for both devices is plastic. There are a few similarities as well on the build, which include the fact that the power buttons on both devices double as a fingerprint scanner. Also, the speakers sound almost the same and they sound really great, especially for the price these two devices are coming for. But the Samsung Galaxy A14 is slightly taller and wider than the Galaxy A24, making the A24 fit for almost every palm. I mean, unless you have really tiny palms, the A24 has a very compact design, unlike the Galaxy A14, which is slightly bulky and more heavier as compared to the Galaxy A24. On the display, you notice that the bezels on the Galaxy A14 are way thicker than the Galaxy A24, as both of them come with infinity designs, which I mean the infinity V design for the notch display on the Galaxy A14, as the A24 has the infinity U design on the Galaxy A24. Also, in terms of display, the Samsung Galaxy A24 comes with a Super AMOLED display, whereas the Galaxy A14 comes with a PLS LCD display. It's basically LCD. So you definitely notice the change in richness of display when you compare both devices side to side. Also, when it comes to streaming or consuming content, you realize that the display on the Galaxy A14 is much richer as compared to what you find on the Galaxy A14. Now, wrapping up with the display, the Galaxy A24 comes with a 90 Hz refresh rate, whereas the Galaxy A14 is capped at 60 Hz. So this basically means that you wouldn't enjoy that smooth and fluid scrolling if you're going through feed on, let's say, your social media handles or just reading the news online. In terms of streaming content, you can stream content at 1080p on both devices, and in some circumstances, the Samsung Galaxy A24 can stream 2K content on YouTube. So yeah, that you should consider that as well. The Samsung Galaxy A24 here has 1000 nits of peak brightness, which means that it can get really bright. The Galaxy A14 on the other hand doesn't come with that feature. It's capped around 400-500 nits of peak brightness. So if you're outdoors, you'd realize that it is easy to read or visualize stuff on the display of the Galaxy A24 than you would see on the Galaxy A14. When it comes to software, the Samsung Galaxy A14 is running on One UI Core 5.1 based on Android 13, whereas the Samsung Galaxy A24 runs on One UI 5.1 based on Android 13. Now you might be asking, what is the difference between these two softwares? The One UI Core 5.1 is basically a watered down version of One UI 5. Now that basically means that there are certain features you might not encounter or see on the Samsung Galaxy A14, and that will definitely be here on the Samsung Galaxy A24. Now, Samsung is constantly sending updates with One UI Core 5.1 updates, so there might be a possibility that these features might be established on the device. What you need to know is that One UI Core 5.1 is basically a watered down version or a much lighter version of One UI 5.1. And that brings us to performance. The performance on the Galaxy A14 is not entirely bad. It's great for its price. It runs on the MediaTek Helio G88 processor, which isn't a high performing monster, but I must add that it comes in two variants. There's the Exynos 850 processor and the MediaTek Helio G88 processor, as stated earlier, and depending on the region you find yourself in, that might depict the kind of device you'll be getting. This is not a performance monster, so bear in mind that you wouldn't be doing the device any good if you end up running high-end tasks like playing high-end games like Call of Duty Mobile or Apex Legends or even PUBG Mobile. You can play other low-end games, and I'm not saying you can't play these games on the device. You can't, but the experience won't be the best because it wasn't made for that. The A24, on the other hand, is a performance monster. I've been playing Call of Duty Mobile on this device for several hours and it doesn't heat up. I stated that in my review video, so if you haven't watched that, you can watch that with the card above. The Galaxy A24, on the other hand, runs Call of Duty Mobile at medium graphic settings. It doesn't have high graphic settings, so you should bear that in mind as well, but it plays the game smoothly and you barely encounter any stutter or lags on the device. I had a lot of people asking me if the Samsung Galaxy A24 comes with an inbuilt screen recorder. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Same applies to the A14. You would have to download an external screen recorder from the Google Play Store. You can download Mobizen, which is attached to Samsung, or AZ screen recorder, and you're good to go. As much as they look the same in terms of design, they do come with the same specifications as well. The Galaxy A24 comes with a 50 megapixel main camera lens, a 5 megapixel ultra wide angle lens, and a 2 megapixel macro lens for the device. Same specifications for the Galaxy A14, but where the difference sets in is the fact that the 50 megapixel lens on the Samsung Galaxy A24 comes with an optical image stabilization sensor. So in this case, videos look much more steady and more stable than the Galaxy A14. So if you're somebody who cares about that, you should definitely have that in your arsenal if you're getting the A24. So you should look out for that. Comparing picture qualities, they don't look too different. They are almost the same. Images out of these cameras are rich in color, although I mean you're not going to expect flagship level pictures from these devices because they're mid-range devices and they do produce some decent output in great lighting. The battery life on both devices are 5000 mAh battery capacity, although using the Galaxy A14 for some time made me realize that the battery life on here lasts a bit longer than the Galaxy A24. I mean, this is probably because the specifications on these devices are lesser than the Galaxy A24, and so it wouldn't drain much. I mean, let's look at the fact that the Galaxy A24 runs on a 90 Hz, so if you have that feature toggled on, you should definitely expect the battery to run faster than the A14. Also, they both have support for USB Type-C charging, except for the fact that the A24 has 25 watt fast charging and the A14 has 15 watts wire charging. So obviously the A24 will charge faster than the Galaxy A14. This is my comparison video between the Samsung Galaxy A24 and the Samsung Galaxy A14. Let me know if you have any further questions in the comment section and I'll be glad to assist you. I'm Delpy, and as always, we go talk more, Charlie.